Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Lisa Hemming, and I'm the Academic Programs Director for the Alumni Association, and thanks for joining us this afternoon for our Football Fridays on the Sideline Lecture Series. This is the second year in the series, and we're happy to have Ron Kraemer join us today. Ron is the Notre Dame's Vice President for Information Technology and the Chief Information and Digital Officer here at Notre Dame, and he's been here since 2010. He and his family moved from Wisconsin, and he previously had worked at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, serving as their Chief Information Officer and Vice Provost for Information Technology. Ron graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire and earned a master's degree from the University of Tennessee, and he did research concerning geographical information systems. And before joining the University of Wisconsin staff, Kraemer was a program manager at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Tennessee, and also served as Associate Director of Energy, Environment, and Resource Center at the University of Tennessee. Here at Notre Dame, as Vice President and Chief Information Officer, Ron leads all aspects of Notre Dame's information technology, including a staff of more than 200. He oversees the IT infrastructure that supports the entire campus community, development of enterprise systems that underlies many of the university's teaching and learning, research and engagement, business activities, and all of the future planning for IT. So I appreciate Ron joining us here today and sharing his insights. So welcome, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. So thank you all for coming on a kind of a rainy, dreary Friday afternoon, but it sets us up well for the football game tomorrow, I think. So thanks for taking the time. In the talk today, I'm going to do this from an iPad, controlling it with an iPhone. So we'll see how that works, right? That's a interesting combination of things, but it kind of shows where we are with digital technology these days. And I hope to show you some of the things that we're doing in the classroom, some of the things we're doing in different programs. But I have to tell you, Notre Dame doesn't strive to be the incubator or the transformer of digital innovation. You know, we strive to create an environment in which students can learn and grow and live. And when we turn them loose on the world, we want them to make extraordinary contributions to the world. So we'll use digital stuff when it makes sense to use it, but we aren't out there trying to blaze new trails in digital technology. Now, having said that, I think as I talk about some of the things we do here, you're going to notice that we're up there with the best universities in the world in terms of how we apply this in research and teaching and scholarship, in all the different ways that we engage with our students and faculty. So this is kind of the agenda, a nice simple agenda for today. I'm going to talk a little bit about Notre Dame because I think the key here is Notre Dame, it's not technology. Then I'll talk about the role of technology and digital in our campus life and what we do, and then look forward a little bit at what I see coming in the coming years. So I grew up in northern Wisconsin. This is a picture of my dad is the second guy from the top on the right. These are all his brothers. So he had six brothers and 5 sisters. On my mom's side of the family, a nice Polish family, also from northern Wisconsin. She had 7 sisters and 4 brothers. So I had 150-some first cousins. When we would have an event where the families would get together, we'd have to rent an auditorium, you know. So, but all of us were altar boys growing up, and because I lived 2 blocks from church, my dad would always make us do the weddings and the funerals on Saturday. The priest would call and say, I need a backup altar boy. And my brothers or I would go and do that. Well, when I was 8 years old, I got called early in the morning to do a funeral, and I didn't really want to do it. I was having fun watching cartoons. But I, got on my bike, ran down to church, and I was one of the candle bearers in the funeral that day. And for some odd reason, which to this day, I don't know why, I was standing holding the candle and I fell asleep while I was standing there. And the white things are called surplices and the black things are called cassocks on altar boys. And as the candle went back against my surplice, it burst into flames. And I remember waking up, and the second I woke up I was going, oh my goodness, I'm on fire. And the poor fella's wife, the fellow that had died, his wife yelled, the altar boy's on fire. Now, what does that have to do with digital technology at Notre Dame? Well, I wanted to let you know I'm a good Catholic boy. That's important. But I thank God every day that Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and all this digital stuff didn't exist then, because I can be embarrassed and I can tell the story now and we can laugh, but you'll never see it on America's Funniest Home Videos, and I thank God for that every day. Does anyone know the importance of these two dates? Unless you're an IT person in the room. Any guesses? That's exactly right. So the iPad and the iPhone were first released on these two dates. And the reason I wanted to put this slide up here, is, especially for the iPad, that was less than 4 years ago. And it's just become like a natural part of everything we do now. I guarantee you, if you go out to breakfast almost anywhere you go now, there'll be 70-year-old people sitting at a table, shopping on their iPad. There'll be kids, Snapchatting and videoing and everything else on iPads. But it's just become part of our culture. And this is less than 4 years ago. So students that are seniors here today, when they decided to come to Notre Dame, the iPad didn't exist. So these mobile technologies just weren't part of what we did. Having said all that, lots of technology. Technology is cool. I love technology. I do it for a living. But to me, Notre Dame is really this place where our students live and learn and grow. They've been doing this for 150 years. They've been doing it long before the iPad, the iPhone existed, before any networking things existed. And this is what Notre Dame is about. It's not about anything we do with technology or tools or athletics and automation. It's about this idea of living, learning, and growing. For most of our students, it's the first time they're away from their families. So they come here. This is a shot of some students on the lawn on South Quad. It's the first time they probably have had to do laundry on their own, the first time that they've had to get used to living with someone who wasn't a brother or sister or someone they're related to. It's the first time they really had to get places on time by themselves. So this idea of this is their new home, this is a place where they're going to form relationships that are going to last the rest of their lives. They're going to meet people who are going to influence them for the rest of their lives. It's the place they live for at least 4 years. Notre Dame's also a place to learn. The relationship that our faculty and our rectors and our staff have with students here create a special bond. I've worked at 3 or 4 universities in my life, attended a couple other ones, and I can tell you it's a unique experience at Notre Dame relative to the way people care about each other here. I think the students care about each other more than I've seen anywhere else. But there's this special weird thing with how faculty care about students here and bring them along and help them. And then it's a place to grow. It's a place to grow in faith. It's a place to grow in terms of how we make decisions, our morals, our ethics. This kind of strange, unique thing that happens here. We have 57 chapels on campus. I don't know how many people know that, but virtually every dorm has a chapel in it. And more as we build new buildings, they all have chapels. At 10:30 or so on Sunday nights, the students all get a chance to go to a service. This is Father Warner here in Walsh Hall, and he now leads the CSC and is stationed in Rome. But wonderful people like Father Warner spend all this time with our young folks, helping them form in their faith and other activities that they do. So we'll talk about technology now for the next little bit, but the thing I want to leave you with is this, that Notre Dame is a place to live, learn, and grow. And we'll do the technology stuff. I'm glad we have technology stuff, or I wouldn't have been blessed to come here. So the role of digital technology. This is my only slide with a lot of words on it, I think. But There was a survey done this summer of university presidents and faculty, and the question they were asked is, looking forward, which innovations are going to have the most negative and positive impacts on education in the future? And this is a stunning result to me, because if you start on the right and you look at where we talk about massive open online courses, these are things that you're reading about in the news a lot now, that different folks are saying, I can have 100,000 students in a class and teach them physics online. It's a great thing, it's a great thing, so I don't want to diminish that. But what the presidents and faculty say are, that isn't going to have a great impact. In fact, that'll have more of a negative impact on what we want higher education to be. The next one is this free and open education resources. Again, we see it a lot in big public schools, but to say, I'm just going to put my stuff out there, you can read it, you can learn from it, and there will be learning outcomes from that, but they're saying not as significant as some other things. So now we go all the way to the left, and I would say these are the three big things we're trying to do at Notre Dame. Hybrid courses really means a combination of the traditional lecture and learn and talk in classrooms, combined with technology where we believe it'll have the greatest impact. Personalized education, understanding what a student needs in a course or in what their particular outcomes are trying to achieve. How do we address those personal needs? And I'll tell you a couple stories about those that we have taken on here. And then how do you create technology that actually creates interaction among students and faculty and each other? So not just shooting a video and displaying it online, but starting to integrate tools that allow students to talk with one another, to Skype with one another, to have conversations, to write and read each other's things. And so that's where we're focusing our implementation of technology here at Notre Dame. So some specific things, I'm going to take you through a couple of our missions around really five areas. In our faith mission, which we don't think a lot about the application of technology, we're doing an incredible number of things here. The Basilica Mass at 10 and 11:45 every Sunday is taped and streamed live. So anyone around the world can watch a Mass at the Basilica on every Sunday. When those Masses are done, we put those files up on iTunes U, so you can go back and watch all the Basilica Masses you want. So more and more we're trying to identify faith-based things that are happening at Notre Dame and making them available to anyone around the world. If you go to our website, and this is an area that's run by the Alumni Association, you could have a prayer said or a candle lit at the grotto for one of your loved ones if they're sick or in trouble or need help. You can have Masses said. You can sign up for the prayer of the day. Or there's just so many things now we're doing online that allow people to connect with Notre Dame from wherever they are. Our Institute for Church Life has a program in which they have over 500 videos that talk about different things that are happening at Notre Dame that we put online and make available to people. So the place when I started this, and I thought I'd have to look the hardest for the application of technology and what we do, would have maybe been our faith-based mission. At this point in time, under the leadership of Father Bill Lease in the President's office, this is taking off as a worldwide phenomenon. I think it'll be one of the things we'll be most proud of as we move forward in the future. Teaching and learning, we were one of the first campuses in the world to have an iPad class. This is Professor Corey Yangston, our business school. In 2010, he did all of his teaching on an iPad. All the materials were presented on an iPad to the students. So this was the year iPads came out, that fall. It was the first fall I was here. We did this experiment. It got worldwide attention in terms of the application of a tool like this in the classroom. Since that time, we have the most innovative iPad program, I think, in the country. We buy iPads from Apple. We put them in our bookstore. Faculty members can choose to make it part of the course. And the reason this is so key is we have so many kids here on financial aid that they can't afford. I mean, people think Notre Dame's a very wealthy school. We have so many need-based students here that if we would make it a requirement for someone to show up with an iPad, we'd be in deep trouble. It would be a disaster for their families. So what we do is we lease iPads to the students for $75 a semester, and it can be used as part of their financial aid because the faculty make it part of the program. So it's of great benefit to the students. People have been talking to us from all over the world of how did you do that and why did you do that and what does the future look like. And I think we'll be doing more and more of that. We're trying to prove the business model around it now and make sure that, that it's something we can scale further and further. The other thing is we have campuses in London and in Rome. And this last couple of years, we've built out the technology. So if you're in London and Rome, you can participate in classes here on campus through video conferencing and other computing technologies. We can control all their technology from here. So we've set those buildings up in those places with the exact same technology we have on campus. And so if you need a server rebooted in Rome, you can do that from a building just a couple, half mile down the road here. Get online with them real time. We run everything right from here. That's been a phenomenal success for us. One other story I wanted to tell you about, and I'm going to tell it about a student athlete, but it's really not about a student athlete. It's what we would do for any student here. There's a soccer player on the women's soccer team named Kraemer. She was one of the top 5 best under-20 women's soccer players in the world, and she chose to come to Notre Dame. The problem that Carrie had was the U.S. Under-20 World Cup was going to be from August 15th to September 15th in Japan. So her first 3 to 4 weeks of school, as an incoming freshman, she was going to live in Lewis Hall, but she wasn't going to be here till 4 weeks into school. We wanted her to be able to start school as seamlessly as possible. Technology was involved, but really caring friends and faculty were also a key. So we got together, these fellows in the back of the room taping me today were, participated in this, where the faculty would allow us. We taped the lectures for Carrie's classes. We put them up on our technology-based learning management system. She could download them in Japan and sit on a bus and watch lectures. Her friends from her dorm would go to her classes and take notes for her and put them up in the course management system, so she'd have all the course notes. Where faculty didn't let us videotape things, her classmates and other folks would go into the classrooms and tape lectures and digitize them and send them to her. So she got to participate. It didn't matter if it was her microbiology class or sociology or calculus. She had a more rigorous schedule in those first 3 weeks than I had my whole 4 years of undergraduate. But she was able to be at Notre Dame while she was in Japan helping the U.S. win the Under-20 World Cup. Now, I mentioned that as Carrie's an athlete. The important part is not that she's an athlete. We do this for people if they have a family health issue where, we've had students here that one of their parents has come down with cancer and they had to go home for the semester. We've had students here that have had serious health issues themselves. We just do this for our students. It doesn't matter if you're an athlete, a first-year student, or this past year, a young man was 3 months short of graduation and came down with a tragic illness. We gave him an iPad. The same thing everyone did for Carrie, they did for him. And he graduated in May, even though he couldn't be here the last couple months of school. So this is just what we do here in teaching and learning. Notre Dame is really emerging also as a premier research university. We do more than $100 million worth of research a year. The difference at Notre Dame is research here is an undergraduate experience, it's a graduate experience, it's a faculty experience, and it's a community experience. So we have an innovation center just on the edge of campus that faculty work at, students work at. But as an undergraduate here, you can participate in research just like our graduate students do. we're really careful that you tend to your studies as an undergraduate, but giving our undergraduates that experience to participate in research is rather unique at a university. We also have done quite a bit in the area of scholarship. We help our faculty write digital books. So this is a book called The Tempest. Let me go back to the first page here. This is a book that was all online. You can buy it on the iTunes library for iTunes bookstore for $13.95, I think is what I paid for this one. But our faculty are starting to use these tools in their classes. So when I talked a little while about the iPad class, now we can create these digital materials that our professors create themselves, and then they can use that as the textbook. When you do that, you can do some pretty cool things. One of the things that...
this is a model of an early modern hand press, and this is the device that would have printed books. Books such as Shakespeare's First Folio and the King James Bible would have been produced on a press such as this. This is a working model, and it's about 1/3 or 1/4 size of what a press.
So the important thing here isn't really for us to learn about the press at this point, although if you buy this book, you can learn a heck of a lot about these kinds of presses. But it's the idea that we can bring video and audio and collaboration into these learning tools, where I'm a lover of paper books. I've got more paper books than I can fit in my house. But the idea that we can now integrate video and collaboration and chatting and all these things that help bring students and faculty together in different ways is amazing. And our faculty members are writing these kinds of books, and they're putting them out on iTunes. Interesting little fact that I think very few people understand is how much do you think a student spends on textbooks every semester? Does anyone have an idea? If you have students, you'll have a good idea. How much? $500 or $600? I think so. That would be a pretty good average. So let's just say that we have 12,000 students at Notre Dame. Okay, that's about between undergraduate and graduate. That's right. Let's just say that every semester they spend $500 on a textbook. Now, if you take all the zero, I'm not a math whiz, but I practiced this, so I know the answer. Every semester at Notre Dame, our students spend at least $6 million on textbooks. Doesn't that blow you away? So what if we could have a program in which we lease you an iPad for $75, we provide all the digital content to you free of charge because we create it or we collaborated with another university to get it. The press industry doesn't like this a lot, right? And I wouldn't like it if I were them either. But when we talk about the cost of education and how we make education more affordable and valuable, this actually becomes a wonderful tool. Here we only have 12,000 students. What if you're at a place like UW-Madison, where I came from, where you have 50,000 students, and you're looking at people, spending $60 million a year on textbooks? It's an interesting phenomena in the idea of the affordability of education. So we have these active programs here. So now I have to get this to talk to that again. So we have these active programs here that we try to evolve every day. The other thing I wanted to mention is campus life, because things like today, probably right after this, many of you might be going to Trumpets Under the Dome. Every week we have from 5 to 10 guests that come to campus. This year, our Women in Leadership is our forum for the year. So we'll have 5 or 6 events where we bring incredibly famous, renowned people to campus to talk. Well, now with the technology we have, we capture every one of those events. We stream them live when the participants allow us to do that. We capture them and we put them in on our YouTube channel and on our iTunes channel. And so if you can't make it to these events, no matter where you are in the world now, we bring Notre Dame to you in these ways. I wanted there's a different phenomena that's happening that as I set myself on fire as an altar boy, this is what would have actually happened to me. But, so this is a zoom in of that same picture of trumpets under the dome. And if you notice something here, besides this fellow here who's holding his ears, he doesn't want anything to do with this. If you look closer at this picture, what you're going to see are the number of people that are capturing the event on their iPhones and their video cameras. And I just took a small snippet of it, and there's 11 people just in this little thing. Instantaneously, everything that happens on campus is going out to the world. And it's going out to people's friends and families, and they're preserving it forever and ever. More and more, we do this formally, but it's really the informal creation of this content that's really the incredible thing. Our student government is now run with technology. All our club sports are organized and run with technology. Virtually everything that happens in terms of campus life has this really, really intense technology edge to it. And athletics might be the big thing. I was speaking with Coach Muffet McGraw a couple months ago, and then she spoke at our mobile summit that we had just a few weeks ago. And when our coaches talk to us about how they're using iPads and how they're using these new technologies, not only to help the students learn more, but to coach them better, to help them bring them along more quickly. Now, if we're at an away football game or basketball game or soccer game, a coach can have on their iPad the entire video for the game when they get on the bus or they get on the plane to come home. By the time they get back home, every player's activities on the field that night or on the court that night can be chunked out into snippets where the very next morning the coaches can sit down with them and say, did you see when you set the pick here how the person rolled off you there if you'd had your leg extended one little bit more? But these tools in athletics may be the most incredible thing that I've heard of in terms of applying technology here at Notre Dame. But these coaches just use this now for everything. We have a test program right now where a couple of the sports, men's and women's sports, we're giving iPads to every one of the athletes in those sports. They're using them for the learning aspects, the research aspects of life, but they're also learning to become better athletes. And as you know, we lead the nation in graduation rates for our athletes. We don't want to falter on that. I think this kind of technology is going to help us keep the pace of being the best in the world at that. The other thing we do that I think is rather incredible is we're starting to develop digital content for things like game day. So this is an iPad app that we've just developed this year that we have available for, I think it's for free, out on the web in our, I think it's in the iTunes library, but it's in a couple other places. But we have applications now where when you come to Notre Dame to a game or you're far away, you can do things like see what's going on in the stadium. If you want to see where your seats are, you can look at that online. If you want to listen to the fight song, you can do that over and over again. But these applications now come out for every single game. So when you come to a game by game, you can go in and get the history of the game of what happened, or if it's an upcoming game, the starting lineups and interviews with the coaches and players. It's really just an incredible, incredible feature that's just going to become common everywhere. It's kind of strange that Notre Dame and Alabama played in the national championship game last year, because Notre Dame and Alabama are the two schools that are doing the most in this area right now. And although that game didn't turn out so well, we're going to beat them in this game. So that'll be a wonderful experience for people to use these kinds of tools. A university campus is a city. I don't think when you come and visit for a football game, you might not think about this as much, But here, we run conference centers, we run a hotel, we have a laundry, we have stores, we have 127 different merchants on campus. And so when we take your credit card now, that's a technology application. It's safe and secure, but it has to be managed. In building the new Morris Inn here this past year, 37 different technologies went into that. Everything from making your cell phones work and all that sort of stuff, down to how locks work on hotel room doors. Those are all technology-based applications now. And so more and more running the university and have a digital workflow in how we do things, how we buy things, how students register is just becoming a fundamentally important part of what we do. So this is kind of our mantra around technology. We're going to imagine things. We're going to imagine what could be possible. We're going to create, we're going to share with all of you. One of the main things we want to do at Notre Dame is touch the entire world. We're not satisfied anymore with just educating students here. We want them to see, and there it goes again. That person just bought the app as we were talking. We have students in Haiti and in Kenya and in Uganda. We have students all over the world doing great things, and technology allows us to do that more. And plus, we have to preserve our heritage. As these digital things happen, how do we make sure that generation after generation can keep enjoying and learning from them? It's a huge responsibility we have, and we take it very seriously. Many of you probably know Cardinal Timothy Dolan. He spoke as our commencement address, primary addressee last year, and when he said this, the students went nuts when he came out, right? So he got this great ovation, ovation you don't usually get for a cardinal, but people love Cardinal Dolan. And as soon as the silence kind of came as he got the students to quiet down, this is what he said: "You just like the fancy cape." We've preserved that moment for all time. I don't know if he'll like that or not, but we have. But so you can watch Cardinal Dolan's commencement address online. We've preserved snippets of it where he said certain things that touch certain audiences, and so you can get access to that. Our faculty can use this as a learning moment for students here, and so having the ability to capture everything that happens here, use it in the classroom, use it around the world, is a phenomenal blessing for a university in this day and age. So in concluding, I'm going to stop talking in a second here. I love technology. It's what I've done for a living for 30 years. But what we do here with technology is help students make a difference in the world. When we turn them loose on the world, we don't want them just to go work on Wall Street or get a job in a bank. We want them to make incredible contributions in the world. The research we do here, we want to fundamentally change the world. We want the world to be a nicer, healthier place that people enjoy living in. And it's a blessing for all of us that work here, really, to participate in that. If we can change the world in 5 ways a century to be a better place, I think we've done our job. And for those of you that have entrusted your children to us, I've entrusted my daughter to Notre Dame. I hope we serve you well, and I'm very confident that we will. So thank you very much. So I'm happy to answer any questions anyone may have. Yes, please.
I'd like to know a bit more how the iPad is used in the teaching in the business school, please.
So we have a couple formal programs with the iPad now, where this semester we're using it in 2 music classes, a Shakespeare class and a law class. And the students lease the iPads from the bookstore. So if you own an iPad, we let you bring your own iPad. But we have about 5% of our students that actually own an iPad. It's a very small percentage yet. And then the IT staff help the faculty load whatever learning materials they want on the iPad, so whatever applications, whatever books, and then the faculty just use that as the place that students can turn in assignments, get assignments, watch videos, Skype with each other. So it just becomes an integrated part of that class for that semester. Okay. Yes, sir.
I assume, knowing the youths of today, when they come to the university here or elsewhere, they're pretty familiar with iPads, iPhones, and all that. Do you have students coming in who are, let's say, not up to speed, where you can help them get up to speed so they can participate in all of this?
So we offer to help them in many, many ways. But what we found is the most successful thing is this past year we started a student ambassador program. So we ask students, and we'll bring them in a few days early each semester, if they want to learn about exactly how we're using these technologies. They come to the school that semester a little early, we teach them, and then they teach the other students. So we have very few classes where we have staff or faculty actually teaching students the use of the technologies. They're teaching each other. And I would say they don't need much teaching in that area. Most, 90% of them come here with just a real natural ability to interact with these kinds of devices now. Yes, sir.
How would a student defend himself against plagiarism, given that there's so much stuff out there that's searchable, and phrases and ideas can be searched, and Google is so intelligent that we can rearrange things and say that you mean, and even if it's all hard not to plagiarize, I would think.
Yeah. So ethics, ethics in education is one of our cornerstones here in terms of helping students understand that. Through our libraries and through our business school and through a couple other schools, we actually spend quite a bit of time with students talking about that. In the first year studies program, it's one of the areas that's covered quite extensively now, because I think this is maybe what you're alluding to. Accidental plagiarism has become so easy that even if you aren't trying to do something, in your mind whether you actually plagiarize something or not might not be clear to you. So through our libraries, through our Center for Digital Scholarship, more and more we're working with faculty and students, to understand kind of the playing field in that whole arena. It's a tough arena. Yes, we'll go there and then there.
Follow up to that. I've been reading some things about the whole growth of digital and so on, and some interest in public funding of research, wanting the researchers to publish all the tests they do, what equipment they use, what the settings they are, so that other people can duplicate it, or what research is going on, like in cancer or some other illnesses that people might be interested in. And it's almost a little overpowering, the amount of information, and I'm curious what the university is doing with that. Is it the library going to have the responsibility? Are you going to have the responsibility? Is the research department going to have the responsibility? Or is that an area that you're working on? Or?
So it's an area I would collaborate on. This really does rest with the individual faculty member in the departments, and then through this Center for Digital Scholarship that that I mentioned in the last question, we're starting to create more formation around how that should really work. But whether a faculty member wants to publish a piece without any copyright associated with it, how open they want that to be, that's an individual choice. More and more, as you have research grants funded, there are stipulations around the research grant, exactly who owns the intellectual property. And so that's a fast evolving arena right now. I think if you would ask me, what is the thing I'm most concerned about in the next 3 years? It's decisions we make around intellectual property and how we use these digital learning materials for education and research. Yes, sir.
My question dealt with, I kind of grew up in the chalk and blackboard days, but my understanding is technology can be portrayed on a screen, drawn from all sources. To what extent do the teachers today use that in their classrooms? And the ability to be able to move that down so that a student could see what they're talking about as well as, actually listening to the professor.
Sure. All different levels. So we still have professors here that use chalkboards, and they're some of the most brilliant teachers in the world, right? I think there's nothing like that experience sometime, to just have someone who's brilliant in the front of a class. It's a really a wonderful thing. But we do try to help them in terms of how they create these digital materials and then how they provide them to the students. We try to have a pretty standard set of tools. We call it a learning management system, in which, whether it's audio or video or text, that we can make that available to students in very standard ways so that it isn't different for the student if you're in a physics class or a psychology class or a religion class. All our faculty here use the exact same learning management system to do that within. And we have the Center for Digital Scholarship. We have a center called the Kraemer Center that helps faculty use technology in the classroom. I have an academic technology group that helps them. So there's a lot of work that comes around this to be able to provision these things to students in ways that they can really effectively use them. Yes, sir.
I applaud the efforts. I mean, my son's class here, which is a surprise, maybe, is our appreciation. And it was because it was all slide presentations. And the only way you could study was go to the one building and see these little slides with a light screen behind it and study it. And to have it available 24/7 to study it at your leisure was wonderful.
It is, and we're, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a contract for the entire campus that the app I showed you, the football app with the stadium zooming in and out, we hope to make that available to all faculty to build learning materials in that kind of thing. The art history, and Professor Richard Gray, who chairs, I think he chairs, it's called the art, so I'll get this wrong, it's the art department, but I don't remember what it's called. But this will allow him to turn loose all the Adobe products, all the publishing products for his students to use. And I think it's going to make a phenomenal difference in what we do in those kinds of education venues for us. Yes?
Is there any reason why it's Apple? Are they funding anything or?
So, no, so the reason we use iPads is because at this point in time, that's where the learning materials are most well developed. So I serve on advisory boards for Apple, for Adobe, for Microsoft, for Dell, and a bunch of other ones. We're always pushing them to push each other. The best thing that would happen to me in terms of being the IT guy at Notre Dame would be if Samsung, Apple, and Microsoft all came out with a suite of products that equally competed with each other. For education, it would drive the cost down, it would drive the quality up. At this point in time, I think Apple is in the lead. That doesn't necessarily mean they're always going to be in the lead. Yes?
Illustration of the kind of digital scholarship that's occurring, and are there other places or centers on campus that I could visit this weekend that would show what kinds of digital scholarship? I'm especially interested in digital humanities.
So I would attend, so the Hesburgh, so I'm going to speak at the Hesburgh one this afternoon too, but just for 4 minutes. But I think at the Hesburgh one that would be a great place to get the answer to that question, because the people that are connected into that all over campus will be there. And even if you went a little early and talked to folks there, I don't know for certain what venues are open on the weekend to have those discussions. But the Kraemer Center and within our College of Arts and Letters is where we do most of those things besides the library. But I would go to the library first, even like right from here, and there'll be people staffing that could tell you exactly where to find all of that on campus. We have time for one more? Okay, yes.
Follow up, quick question. I think of the 80s when public education made the math like Apple IIe's. They talked about Apple having a foothold. Well, that all evolved now. Most school computers are Windows-based.
Yes.
With the content that's available to students, is it only available via iPads or are other tablets compatible with what you're producing? Because if there's just a mad rush in one direction, we may have to make a switch later on.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting, complicated question, right? Because some people will say that universities should, you heard the term BYOD, bring your own device, and that universities should then satisfy the need of whatever any of our students show up with, right? Well, it turns out that learning content yet, in many ways, is tied to specific devices and operating systems that run those devices. So we make an effort, so we work with Sprint and we work with Samsung and we work with Microsoft to bring their devices into campus too. So I talked about the iPad program, but last semester we had a program on Android devices, on Android operating system on Samsung devices. This coming semester we're going to do a Windows program. So we're trying to look at all these options, but I have to say for the learning experience, for the experience as a consumer, I'm one of the few CIOs in the country that believe this, but I believe that universities are going to start to tie themselves more to specific kinds of products. Because if we don't do that, if I render something that works on an iPad, and now I have to re-render it to work in Android and Windows and Chrome and all the other things, the cost for me to do that is going to be phenomenal. So the beautiful thing for me would be is if we could get to where we produce stuff and it works on all these devices. That isn't in the best interest of all these companies that are trying, to sell devices. It's the same reason why a printer cartridge doesn't work in a Dell printer and an HP printer. It's because you actually make more money selling ink and paper than you do selling printers. So this is will be one of the tough areas in higher ed here in the next several years. It's incumbent upon us to make sure when we produce things that we produce them in ways that they are portable between things, because the guy that's on the top of the hill today isn't going to be the guy on the top of the hill 10 years from now. All right? Thank you all so very much.
Thank you. So thank you, Ron. I appreciate your being here, sharing your knowledge, your wealth of information. It's a challenging world, and my hat's off to you for venturing there. And Ron's part of the Alumni Association family, so we're blessed to have his wife Jane part of our staff. She's actually heading up all of Football Fridays for us this semester. And then their daughter Katie is here. She's a senior psychology major, so they're in the back. So welcome. So thanks, Ron.
Thank you. Thank you all.